Okay guys, well I guess I did not record this correctly, or it did not record my voice. Hopefully this is working now. So we are doing 6.1 perimeter, circumference, and area today. Our definitions here are the perimeter. This is the sum of all lengths of the sides, and we are going to add here, and this is usually it's always the outside of the figure. The area is the number of square units inside the figure, and most of the time you're going to multiply, and this is always obviously inside. For our formulas here, for a square, we have perimeter equals 4 times s. S is your side length, and then our area is s squared. For the perimeter of a triangle, we have P equals A plus B plus C. We're adding up all of the side lengths. And then for area of a triangle, it will be 1/2 base times height. Now the reason that it's 1/2 is because basically base times height is the same, or is for a rectangle or a parallelogram. So I could technically make a rectangle out of this, except we are only using the triangle, so that is why we have to do the 1/2 there. Your base and your height are perpendicular to each other, so your height and your base have to form a 90-degree angle with each other. If you are picking a side that does not form a 90-degree angle with the base or with the height, you are not using the correct side. For a rectangle or a parallelogram, make sure to write that down. You have perimeter equals 2b plus 2h, or you could have 2 times b plus h. For area, you would have b times h, or length times width. When we're just dealing with rectangles, we use length and width, but then when we move on to parallelograms, in our next lesson, we will be using base times height, or a b and an h. For a circle, our radius is r and our diameter is d. So here are the two formulas for circumference. Circumference is just a fancy word for perimeter of the circle. And then the area of a circle is pi r squared. So for this one specifically, in circles, we want to use the pi button every time. You guys can find that on your calculator. You want to use the pi button. Don't use 3.14. Use the pi button and then round it. If you go on to higher math classes, they're going to ask you to round to 3 decimals. You can round, I rounded to 2 with all my answers, but you can round however you would like, unless it says otherwise. Okay, so now you want to use the formulas above to find the perimeter and area of the following polygons. I'm just going to go through this quick. You guys should pause it and try and do these on your own if you're watching this video again because you missed the notes in class. So for number 1, the perimeter, perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times one side plus 2 times the other. If I multiply 2 times 8, I get 16. 2 times 10 is 20. If I add those two together, I get 36 kilometers. You need to have units there. If you do not have units, I will mark it wrong. As long as they give you units, you should have units as in your answer. Most important thing here is that you need to have, at the very least, your first step and your answer in order to get the full points as long as your answer is correct. Some kids are just writing down the answer, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. So you will not get full credit. You will not get any credit for it if you just write the answer. If you write both of these down that I highlighted in yellow, and you accidentally type something into the calculator wrong, I will give you, so you have this part correct, and then you write down the wrong answer down here, I will give you full credit because you knew what you were doing up here, you just accidentally did some math wrong. You guys need to show your work. If you just write down the answer, you're not going to get full credit when you get it wrong. For the area here, we're going to do base times height or length times width, whichever one you want. So 8 times 10 is 80. Now when you're working with area, you need to have the units squared. So I'm going to write it like this, but you can also write it as 80 square kilometers. Does not matter to me which one you use there, but you do need to make sure that your units are squared for area. For the second one, perimeter of a square is 4 times the side. So the perimeter of this would be 48 centimeters. The area of a square is S squared, so 12 squared would be 144 centimeters squared. For number 3, we're doing triangles. So perimeter of a triangle is, oh, this is the wrong, okay. I fixed it on my other one, but not on this one. Okay, so this is, on your sheet, you should have 7 meters, 8 meters, 8 meters, and 6.3 meters. Okay, so perimeter is adding up all the outside lengths. So 8 plus 8 plus 7 would be 23 meters. And then the area is 1/2 base times height. Now the base and the height are perpendicular to each other, so they form a 90-degree angle. So if I multiply those three things together and put it in my calculator, I get 25.2 meters squared. For number 4, again, the perimeter, you're adding up all the sides, 9 plus 9 plus 5 to get your answer. And you end up getting 23 kilometers. To get your area, you're just going to do 1/2 base times height. Now again, your base and your height are perpendicular to each other. So wherever you have that 90-degree angle that's formed, your base and your height make that. So make sure you're choosing the right sides. When I put this in my calculator, I get 21.6 kilometers squared. Find the circumference and area of the following circles. Again, use the pi button when you are doing this. Pi button. It's on your calculator. Use that. Do not use 3.14. So circumference of this circle would be 2 pi 11. You can literally just type it in your calculator exactly like that. You get 69.12 miles. I rounded to do 2 decimal places. You could do 1. You could do 2. Then for area, you have pi r squared. Again, just put that directly in your calculator, and you will get 380.13 miles squared. For number 6, your radius is 6, so we would have 2 pi times 6, which would give us 37.7 meters. And then for the area, you have pi r squared. So your area would be 113.1 meters squared. Do the following represent perimeter or area? Wallpaper for the bedroom. You are trying to cover the whole entire wall, so that would be area. Crown molding for a ceiling, you are just going on the outside edges of the ceiling, so this would be perimeter. Fencing for backyard, you're just going around your property lines for your backyard, so that would also be perimeter. And then paint for basement floor, you're trying to cover the whole floor, so that would be area. Word problems and working backwards. So you can draw a picture if needed. Most of the time you're not going to have to do it unless there is something that you just can't possibly put in your head. Some of you guys are picture learners. Some of you can learn by just reading the words. Sometimes I have to draw pictures, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how comfortable you feel with the concepts. So rectangle measures 25 centimeters by 10 centimeters. What is the area? We are doing a rectangle, so the area of a rectangle is length times width or base times height. So we are trying to find the area. the length is 25, the width is 10. It does not matter what order you put those in, because whenever you multiply something, it doesn't matter the order. They're still being multiplied together. So the area for this is 250 centimeters squared. A parallelogram has a base of 3 inches and a height of 7 inches. Parallelogram is base times height. So 3 times 7, which would be 21 inches squared. Find the area and circumference of a circle if the radius is 7 inches. So circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. So the circumference of this circle would be 43.98 inches. The area is pi r squared. So again, put that all in your calculator and round, you have 153.94 inches squared. What is the perimeter of a square that has a side of 2.5 feet? So perimeter for a square is 4s, or 4 times the side. So 4 times 2.5, which would be 10 feet. The next question in the rest of those is working backwards. So what I do for these is I'm reading the entire problem first. The length of a rectangle is 12 centimeters and the area is 96 centimeters squared. What is the width? Okay, so I'm working with a rectangle and I'm working with area. My area for a rectangle is length times width, or base times height. They give us the area, which is 96. They give us the length, which is 12, and then we are trying to find W. You guys know how to do this algebra problem here. You're going to divide both sides by 12, and you get 8 centimeters. Find the width of a rectangle whose length is 8 centimeters and whose area is 56. So again, area of a rectangle is length times width. So they give us the area, which is 56. They give us the length, which is 8. We are trying to find the width. So go ahead and divide both sides by 8. You get W equals 7 centimeters. Find the side length of a square whose area is 16 feet squared. Okay, so area of a square is S squared. So we're going to put 16 in for A, and then we need to find the length of our side. In order to do that, to get S by itself, we need to take the square root of both sides. The square root of S squared is S. The square root of 16 is 4. So we have the sides is 4 feet, sorry. The next one, height of a triangle if the base is 10 meters and the area is 25 meters squared. So area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. The area that they gave us is 25. The half just stays there. They gave us the base, which is 10, and we are trying to find our height. So first step is to combine your like terms. So multiply the 1/2 and the 10, which makes for 5. And then I want to get the h by itself, so I need to divide both sides by 5, and I get 5 meters for the height. For the next one, find the area of a square whose perimeter is 48. Okay, you just can't take that 48 and plug it in order to find the area. If we know the perimeter of a square is 48, and we know the equation for the perimeter of a square is 4s, we can plug in this 48 in for P to figure out what our side is, or what our sides are. So divide both sides by 4, and you get S equals 12 inches. You cannot figure out the area without figuring out the length of the sides. So area of a square is S squared. So the area of this square would be 144 inches squared. For the last one, the area of a circular garden is 78.5 feet squared. Find the circumference. So this is the same thing that we just did. We have the area of a circular garden. The area of a circle is pi r squared. So we're going to plug in that 78.5 and then solve for r squared. So this is where it gets a little tricky because if you divide both sides by pi, you get a nasty decimal when you put this in your calculator. So my trick to you guys is to let the calculator do the work here. So what we want to do, and if you have any questions after this, is type in 78.5 divided by pi, and then we're going to hit, then we're going to get the square root button, and then we're going to hit second negative, and that will pull up answer, which means I am taking the square root of this answer here, what you just found in your calculator, to get my r squared. And I need to take the square roots of both sides, so when you do that, you end up getting r is approximately 5 feet. The reason we do it like that is because if we do too much rounding, our answer is going to be off. So we want to do the least amount of rounding as possible. And then we want to find the circumference. So circumference is 2 pi r. So you multiply those guys together and you get 31.42 feet for the circumference. Almost done here. So moving on to composite figures. Composite figures are one big shape that has multiple shapes in one figure. So find the perimeter and area of the following shape. Okay, so these tick marks here mean that those lengths are the same. So if this first one is 3 centimeters, that means this is 3, this is 3, this is 3, this is 3, and this is 3 here. Why is that not working for me? Okay. All right. So next step here would be to create some shapes. You see that this is an irregular shape, but I see a couple shapes in there that we know how to take the area and perimeter of. So if I draw a line here, I know that this is a square, so if all of those sides are 3, this side here would also have to be 3. And so would this side. Then I can draw a line right here. Yes, I know they're slanted. Sorry, it's kind of hard to write on the computer. So if this side over here is 3, that means this side here is also 3. And then 3 plus 3 on the top right here would make for 6. And then the other rectangle, if I have 6 plus 3, that means this is 9, and then this would also be 3. So my two sides here, if this side here is 9, that means the other side is also 9. That has the same tick mark. So this would also be 9 here. So I can figure out the perimeter by just adding up all the sides. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3s, and I have 2 9s. So I can just do some simple multiplication and addition there to get my final answer for the perimeter, which would be 36 centimeters. You do not want to add up the 3 and the 6 that are inside because the perimeter is always on the outside. So now what we need to do is find the area. So you have this area, you have this area, and you have this area here. All 3 of those areas are different, so I just did this one as area 1, this is area 2, and this is area 3. The whole entire figure is going to be area 1 plus area 2 plus area 3. So we need to figure out the areas of all those so that we can get our final answer. Area 1 would be 3 times 3, or 3 squared, because it's a square, which would be 9. Area 2 would be 3 times 6, which would be 18. And then area 3 is 3 times 9, which would be 27. So you don't need to put the units on those because we can do it at the end. So I'm doing 9 plus 18 plus 27, which would be the area is 54 centimeters squared for the entire figure. Okay, then we have these ones here. Find the area of the shaded region in the figures below. So this here is important, the whole area minus the whole area. So we're basically going to take the big area of the shape, so like the big rectangle, and subtract the area that's not shaded in. So for the first one, I like to organize it in this way. So I'm going to say area of the rectangle. and area of the square. And you don't have to do it like this, but this is just how I do it, so I keep myself organized. For the rectangle, our length and width, or our base and height, is 8 and 12, so the area of the rectangle would be 96 inches squared. For the square, we have 4 and 4, so 4 squared, which would be 16 inches squared. Now to find the area of the shaded region, so the area of this, whoops, we are just going to do 96 minus 16, and we get 80 inches squared. And that's it for that one. For the circle, so the values that they give us are the diameters. So we need to find the radius because we are just doing area here. So radius is half of the diameter, so 50 divided by 2 would be 25, 120 divided by 2 would be 60. So I need to find the area of the big circle and the area of the small circle. The area of the big circle would be pi r squared. The area of the small circle would be pi r squared. The easiest way to do this one, and this is for most of the circles because there's a lot of decimals involved with the circle. So what you should do is type in your calculator exactly like I have wrote it down. We're taking the big area and we are subtracting the small circles area. And if you just put it exactly like I have it written down into your calculator, you will get the correct answer and the calculator will do all the work for you. So if I actually, put these in my calculator here and did these separately, we would have, a big decimal here, and then we'd have a big decimal here. Then you'd have to subtract those. So this approach is much easier and less steps for you. So your final answer here would be 9,346.24 millimeters squared. If you guys have any questions, let me know. You should do the homework as well. Again, if you are missing the note page or are missing the homework, stop by my class to pick that up. Have a great day.